3, 2. All right, you truth seekers, we're back, and this is Truth Matters. You can reach us at info@truthmatters.la, and we have with us David Nasani. If you missed our first segment, you really missed it. So we're going to move on and continue talking about, first of all, because we were doing it off camera, about your lovely wife, telling on her, because she's had a lot of impact on people.
She has. Earl just mentioned that we went to dinner a few nights ago, and we've been saying we were going to do it forever, and we finally did it. We nailed each other down, and my wife prayed for her. And how does a woman who can't speak pray? Now, she has something called aphasia, which means her brain doesn't remember how to move your mouth and your lips and your tongue to form the words, and it also doesn't remember how to spell the words. So everything going out is all tweaked. Everything coming in is good. So we're very fortunate, because with some people it's just the opposite, and with some people it's everything. But she can understand you perfectly, and she can read. But when she tries to communicate out and say, well, why don't you teach her sign language? Well, sign language is a language. It's the language part of the brain that is tweaked. So she prays for people. And when she does, she just says a bunch of syllables and vowels and words that are gibberish to anybody else. But, man, you can hear her pray.
Absolutely.
And your spirit is touched, and everybody she prays for just starts crying because the Holy Spirit comes down upon her, and she's very gifted. I'm very fortunate that she has the outgoing temperament, because most women in her position draw inside. They become introverted. They're shy. They don't talk. They just kind of curl up in a corner and eventually die. But she's just the opposite. One arm, one leg tied behind her back and duct tape over her mouth, and you can't shut her up.
She's the life of the party.
She is the life of the party.
She is the life of the party.
We went to New York to have to pitch interviews, producers. Good Morning America, the Today Show. We spoke to 88 producers, and every single one of them, I brought her with me. She's dressed like the Queen of England in her little power chair. We were in New York at the Hotel New York, and the New Yorker, and she just glowed. And producers from across the room, and it was a big room, they would see this woman glowing, and they would walk all the way across the room just to say hello and introduce themselves and who are you? And then they get around to me, and they're having a conversation. I say, well, she can't talk. Well, what do you mean she can't talk? I said she was communicating, but she wasn't really talking. And they were amazed, just amazed. And we booked 88 producers, almost all of them.
Wow. So,
Great story.
I mean, it just seems obvious to me. I hope it's getting through the camera. But the word that comes to me is hope. There's people that just need to know you can get through this, you can survive, and you can thrive. It sounds like a name for a book.
Yeah, I have a book. It used to be called It's My Life Too, but then someone says, you know what, I think it would sound better if it was It's Your Life Too. So I got a new title and a new cover, and now it's called It's Your Life Too. By golly. Thrive or survive and thrive as a caregiver.
Wow. So it can be done.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and there is hope. I'm telling you, if my wife can do it, anybody can do it, really, because she's a strong-willed woman, and sometimes she can be stubborn, and sometimes, or a lot of times, she doesn't listen to her husband. She's not the perfect picture of a submissive wife, but she's trying. But God bless her, because if I was trapped in her body, I would want as much control as possible. So I don't blame her. And I'm a very forgiving person, and so we get along great, and we love each other more than we ever did.
That's great. I'm going to switch gears here. So watch the transmission. Might get a little jerky here for a second. But I understand from your story that someone pretty famous, at least in the Christian world, was a part of your life for a while, Andraé Crouch.
Yeah.
So tell us how you met him. What's that?
Those were just gracious, wonderful years that was a gift from God. It just happened. That was the morning. It was a Sunday morning. where I looked in bed and my wife is missing, and she doesn't get up early except for Sunday morning. And I would look through our Burbank house. It was a huge house. I'm looking here, I'm looking there. I can't find her. Finally found her, laying in the den watching a Shirley Temple movie. And I said, "Oh, what's the matter?" This was like the fourth day of her headache. She said, "Oh, the headache came back. It's like circling my head like a crown." I says, "Well, you want me to massage your head?" So I'm massaging it. And I'm talking to her, and I asked her a question. I noticed she didn't answer back. And I asked her again, and she just kind of looked at me with this blank stare. And I says, "Say something. Say anything. Say one word. If you don't say one word, I'm calling 911." And she couldn't say a word. And so we had to call 911. They confirmed she was having a stroke. And I called the pastor, Andraé Crouch, told him why we weren't going to be at church. We were in the hospital, and he immediately came down after the service, and we just kind of bonded. And he was there for us, and he allowed me to hang out with him many, many, many a night. And there is no better place to be after midnight, but with Andraé Crouch in his home and his piano and his entourage and his fried chicken. And it was just what I needed in those days of the 2.5 years of, the grief process.
Yeah.
And he was a great guy. He told me some great stories. And, every time I was around him, he would be playing a song, and he said, I just wrote that just now. And I says, "Really?" And then he told me that he actually sees an angel in his house walking around. And when the angel walks over to the piano, that's his cue to get up and follow the angel and sit at the piano bench with him. And he gets a new song every single time.
Wow.
And if he's too tired and he just doesn't, then the angel just sits there, and then the angel leaves, and he just lost the song. But he has to also record it. He's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of little cassette tapes all over the coffee table, a big mountain of them, and on the piano. And he has enough music to last 3 lifetimes if he were to publish it all. Most of it is unpublished. And he reminds me of Mozart, how Mozart can just scribble out a manuscript and it's done. It's done and it's perfect. And that's how he is. And he's invited me to recording studio, and he's such a perfectionist. And I said, no, it's like he hears it from heaven, and he knows exactly how it's supposed to be. And I said, no, play it again, but add this, And I said, yeah, almost, add that. And right when you think it's all finished, everybody's getting ready to leave, he says, wait, I just thought of something else. And every single one of his albums was just perfect. I mean, there's no other word for it. And he was gracious enough to put my name on his last 3 albums as credits on the CD. And he doesn't even know my last name, believe it or not. He thinks my last name is Dave and my first name is Mobile, because he calls me Mobile Dave. and he'll say from the pulpit, "Oh, Mobile Dave's got a gas station in Castaic. Anybody goes there, he'll give you free gas." He's kidding, of course. I hope they haven't showed up yet. But I love him, and he loved us. And Charlene is a great cook. She is a gourmet cook. That's how she won me over. That's another story. And so he actually wrote a story about Charlene. Charlene is a queen. And it was going to be the theme song for our reality show, which never happened, which now is probably going to be a documentary. So we're excited about all the doors that God's opening up,
Yeah.
What are you not doing?
I don't know. No mind can conceive what God has in store for those that love Him. And
Good
all
word.
I can confess to is that I love Him. And so I guess he showers me with blessings, but he also showers me with trials and tests, because, the rain falls on the good and the bad alike. And many times I say, well, why me? Why me? I went through a terrible time in 2008, lost my entire life savings, an entire fortune, poof, evaporated overnight. I didn't know what I was going to do. My home was in foreclosure. My business, my gas station was in danger of being attached by creditors. And I says, Lord, do you really want my poor wife, who's been through so much, to be, in a tiny little apartment? Please, not for me, but for her. And somehow, 12 years later, we came through it, and I'm in a stronger position now. I'm debt-free, and it's like it never happened. And I know a lot of people who lost fortunes also because we shared stories, and they're still struggling with it. And, it's like two people go to Vietnam. One comes back healthy, one comes back in a body bag. Why? Why me?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I receive his mercy and his grace and his gifts. So not hard
Amen.
not to wonder why.
Yeah.
Well,
It's good
you had me at the angel.
The angel with
You're
the gas.
speaking my language.
Okay,
Wow.
so I first heard Andraé Crouch in the 70s. Little church up in Oregon, he just stopped through and played at. And the song Through It All became my life song. It's something about his twist of phrase and use of words in his songwriting that is unique. And I think that's why it strikes a chord with everybody.
Yeah.
Because there's probably not anybody who's come through that era as a Christian that doesn't know his famous "To God Be the Glory"
Man,
Yeah.
the blood.
and the blood.
Yeah, The Blood was his very first song he wrote when he was 8 years old, I believe.
8?
8. He prayed to God that God would give him a song to write. And so he scribbled out something, and he looked at it, and he crumpled it up, threw it in the trash. And his sister Sandra, his twin sister, pulled it out of the trash, says, "Andre, what'd you do this for?" It's not a real song. He said, "Andre, this is a good song." And she started singing it. And as you know, it's in every hymnal in America.
Yeah.
And
That's the communion song.
yeah.
Period.
But his other songs, I've had many tears and trials. I've had troubles for tomorrow. There's been times I didn't know what to do, but in every situation, God gave me
Consolation.
consolation that my trials come to only
Make me strong.
make me strong. Through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. I've learned to depend on his word. Wow. That's straight from heaven.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a good song. I may have to plug that in as we go
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
That's how I met Andraé Crouch. It was I was invited to an Elizabeth Dole political rally for her husband when Bob Dole was running for president, which I wasn't very fond of Bob Dole. I would have voted for Elizabeth Dole, but and just to not anger the Democrats, I voted for Jimmy Carter. Okay, so I've
Equal time.
done both. Yeah. So it was at the Bonaventure Hotel, and I said, "No, I got to work." I went to the gas station. Everything I touched broke. Everyone I spoke to got mad at me. And the day was a disaster. By the time noon came around, I says, I should have never even woke up or come to work. I'm going to that free lunch. And I went, and I saw at this table a big table sitting about 12 people, a bunch of black folk. And I said, "Hi, I'm Dave." And he says, "Well, hi, I'm so-and-so." And I says, "Well, where do you go to church?" And he says, "We go to the Church of God in Christ, the New Christ Memorial Church," this big, long name. And I said, "Oh, really? Who's the pastor?" He says, "Well, Pastor Andraé Crouch." And he says, Andraé Crouch. Wait, I know that name. He's a gospel singer, huh? Yes, he was, but his father died. He was the pastor, and then his brother became pastor, and his brother died, and his mother died, and then he became pastor. I says, wow. And I remember thinking, wow, he must be the real McCoy to give up all of that life and become a pastor in Pacoima. That's like Nazareth, So I decided to go check out the church. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into because my wife and my daughter were sick that morning. And I told them, "Listen, I'm just going, listen, check it out, and I'll come back with your lunch," because they were hungry. 2 hours later, my phone beeps, and I, "Where's our food?" And I says, "They're just doing the offering now." I was like, the services were like 3.5 hours long. And I wasn't prepared. I didn't have water. I didn't have a sandwich, So I came back. I left during the offering, and I came back fully stocked with a backpack. And we've been there for a few years after that.
Man, that's an adventure.
It was an adventure.
Yeah.
Any Pentecostal black church is an adventure.
Yeah.
We'd
You better
be in
bring a
from
sleeping bag and a tent. And
10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Some Snickers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
every Sunday.
And they have lockouts, or is that what they call it? Shutout, lockout, or something like that, where we're in all night long. It says come at
shut-ins,
midnight,
you just
and you'll
pray.
be leaving when the sun comes up.
You pray, yeah.
Yeah, pray. And march around the pews and bless the pews.
praying,
and
yes.
doing everything. They take their work very seriously.
So, any other stories, takeaways from Andraé Crouch?
I just remember thinking when I was going through all of that, I said, oh my God, Lord, thank you that I'm here and I'm listening and I'm experiencing and I'm hearing. And I says, I can think of like 24 people who would kill to have this experience, and yet you gave it to me. And I thought he did it because he felt sorry for me because I was going through the stroke and my wife. And, many times I was just so frustrated with her that I just needed to get away. And I would pick up the phone and I says, can I come over and hang out? He said, sure. And I don't know what would have happened to me or my psyche or my emotions if I didn't have Pastor Andraé to nurture me during. I felt like that sand footprints in the sand poem. Remember, where there was 2 footprints, and then during the tragedy there was only 1, and you say, Lord, how can you desert me? He says, hey, I was carrying you, and I felt like Pastor Andraé was carrying me through that. Through the Holy Spirit, and I'm just forever grateful. When he died, what a great loss! What a great loss here on earth, but great in heaven. Great in heaven.
Well,
rejoice.
that's a subject for another time, because heaven's pretty rich. I know, having recently
a lot of good people have died.
Said goodbye to Pastor Randy, and I know Earl's family's been touched by tragedy.
Yeah. Mom and Dad.
I'm
John's
ready to go.
family.
I can't wait.
I know.
I'm ready.
Not right now, Luke.
Right this minute.
After the show.
Yeah,
You can distinguish between two.
Yeah, all my kids are grown up. Earl's
him.
still working on it.
That lightning bolt. No.
good stuff. You guys have any questions or anything for?
Do you remember the day when Andraé passed? You remember where you were and what you were doing when he passed away?
Yeah, I've been at the hospital with him many times. He's had many false alarms, and we thought we were going to lose him several times. He wasn't the healthiest of eaters, and he had diabetes, and, if you didn't take care of it, then, your feet would swell up, and he'd get these open sores on his toes and stuff, and if you didn't take care of those, they get infected, and most people with diabetes get their toes amputated.
Yeah.
Some get their legs amputated, and he was so close. And kudos to his twin sister, Sandra Crouch, who's the pastor now, took over. And she was a good caregiver. And, she probably kept him alive several years. And so, yeah.
Were you at home? Where were you when he passed?
When he actually passed, I was home. And I think I got a phone call from his armor bearer, Verdine Parker. She was a good person. She was the one who guarded him and prayed for him constantly. That's what an armor bearer is, right? Someone who just doesn't let any outsiders come in. And
Your protector, so to speak.
But we kind of knew that he was probably not going to make it this last time because they weren't letting hardly anyone see him, and they would let me come in any time, and they said no, he doesn't want anyone to see him like this, and I can understand that.
Yeah. That's hard. All right. Well, if you don't mind, I want to find out what's going on with gasoline prices. The number one expert on
yes,
petroleum.
America's top gasoline expert, gasolineexpert.com. So I've been on 11 TV shows lately, just the last month or two, because people want to know, why are gas prices going up? I have this mobile station. I've had 6 of them over the last 45 years, and so I'm an authority, so they say. And so I've got this little spiel that I tell them, that gas prices go up for 4 reasons. Number one, demand goes up, and more people want it. Number 2 is supply goes down, and more people want it. Number 3 is inflation goes up because, we're printing money that's worthless, and it affects all commodity prices, including gas and oil. And number 4, sometimes governments force oil companies to not drill on leased lands, and so they have to buy expensive foreign oil instead of take the cheap crude oil that's in the ground. Go figure. And also there are 5 actual reasons, costly mistakes that motorists make. And so I say, don't be a chump at the pump. Avoid these 5 costly mistakes. Costly mistake number 1, should I use premium or regular? Well, unless you're driving a luxury or a high-performance vehicle, why would you waste your 40 cents a gallon on premium? Read your owner's manual. Costly mistake number 2, should I check my oil? Yes, of course you should. And change it regularly as well. Costly mistake number 3, is cheap gas really cheaper? Well, not necessarily, especially if you go into that cheap mom and pop place that buys their gas wherever they can. They get a contaminated fuel, and if that ever makes it into your tank, boy, kiss your engine goodbye. Costly mistake number 5, well, how often do you check your tire pressure? Well, you don't realize that underinflated, overinflated tires affect your gas mileage, affect your car's performance, affect deadly accidents. They can cut your tire life in half. And lastly, costly mistake number 5. We're taught as children, when you see yellow lights, yellow traffic lights, that means caution. But when you see a yellow light on your dashboard, that's a danger Will Robinson moment. You'll get your mechanic to check that, and so on. And so I've been at this gas station 45 years, and many times trucks come in, lose their brakes, and the last one was a Foster Farm chicken truck. And it lost their brakes, pulled into my gas station, dumped their load. There were dead chickens everywhere. Eggs were frying on the hot summer asphalt. Yes, they do. That's a truth. And so I rounded up all the live chickens. I put them in the men's room. Don't worry, I put the hens in the ladies' room. And we were in the headlines that
These
day.
days, you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Yeah, the local newspaper wrote a story on us. Ku Klux Klan. And so my book, Getting Hosed, Secret Confessions of a Gas Station Owner, tells great stories like that, and it'll save you lots of money, and it'll keep your car running good. So that's my spiel.
That's great. We're getting practical advice,
Yeah.
spiritual advice. I mean,
Yeah.
this is
Historical advice.
one great show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think we're going to wrap it up here in a little bit. Anything just to close? Anybody have anything you want to? I always want to give you a last word if
No,
you got
thanks.
something.
The only thing I could say is just thank you for being who you are. There's a place in heaven setting, I think, for you.
I don't know about that. I mean,
Special little niche.
A little special niche up there for you and your wife. You'll be side by side. So.
I'm not
Yeah.
perfect by any means. I have lots of faults and lots of habits, and I'm sure there are much higher rated Christians who will get more crowns than me. I'm just lucky to sweep the streets of heaven, the
cut it.
streets of
Here
gold.
we go.
Blah, blah,
Here we
blah.
go.
They won't have gas without you.
I've not only learned from him from a distance, but just from being interacting, and a lot of stuff that he says, I go like, okay, I'm gonna write that down.
He does take
I'm gonna
notes.
apply that in my life, and it's worked. It's all worked. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna squeeze you too much today because I want you to come back.
Thank you so much for having me on and for the opportunity to share my story. I don't believe I deserve any of this. I'm just, Mobile Dave with a gas station, just living his life, and God intervened, and he says, "No, I got better plans for you." And I says, "No, I don't think I can do that." He says, "Yeah," opens the door, walk through it. But you just be obedient,
Yeah.
and you can do all things through Christ. And believe me, if I can do this, hey, he can train a monkey to do it. Trust me.
That's such a good word. Not the monkey word. I mean, just the joy and the heart that you bring is just so refreshing, rewarding. It's been a real great pleasure to have you on, Dave.
you.
So thanks for
Next
coming
time
on.
I'm on, we'll talk about how I got rid of fear in my life, because that's a good one.
Oh,
Randy
my.
Ashburn.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. That's a show.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you being here, brothers.
Appreciate
This
you
is
having
Truth
me.
Matters.
Thank you, Dave.
You can reach us at info@truthmatters.la from beautiful SE Podcast Studios. Thanks for tuning in.
Anytime we suffer loss, we grieve. And a lot of people don't realize what even the grief process is. But it could be 5 to 7 steps ranging from denial, I don't believe this is happening, anger, oh my gosh, I'm so upset this is happening, to a form of bargaining, how can I get out of this, to depression, which is a very serious thing because that often leads to suicide, And then finally, after you realize you have no more control over your situation, and you're totally okay with the new normal that it brings, that wonderful, wonderful place called acceptance. Anytime we suffer loss, we grieve. And a lot of people don't realize what even the grief process is. But it could be 5 to 7 steps ranging from denial, I don't believe this is happening, anger, oh my gosh, I'm so upset this is happening, to a form of bargaining, how can I get out of this, to depression, which is a very serious thing because that often leads to suicide. And then finally, after you realize you have no more control over your situation, and you're totally okay with the new normal that it brings, that wonderful, wonderful place called acceptance.